Hello everyone and welcome to the FPL Armband show. We're here today to preview Game Week 30. Kieran here too. How you doing, Mr. FPL?
No. I mean, I've sort of forgotten about the atrocious week that was 29, so that's nice. But yeah, we've been looking at wildcards, haven't we? So
yeah, we have. It's a juicy episode today because we've both got our wildcards active and plenty of thoughts, different strategies in place for both as well. So yeah, that's cool. You're right. Let's wrap up Game Week 29 real quick and talk about the meaty stuff. Not really much to say really. You decided not to play a free hit in the end. I plan to not play one anyway. Minimal difference really. 17 points for me and 13 for you. But I'd say unless you have Muniz or Robertson, probably not too much difference across the board in scores last week. So the red arrow for me was fairly minimal. It was only like about 2k red arrow. So no, I was pleased with that really. No, anything really more to add on 29, or should we just skip on past it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was like the worst week for cumulative scores in FPL history, I think, wasn't it? Which is, I guess, something to note. I only had 7 players. I guess I got away with it, I suppose. I went down to 250k. So I'm thinking I need to kind of possibly do something a little bit at least different on the wild card. But yes, because I need to just start making up some ground somehow.
For sure. Right, let's get into it and talk about this week. Because obviously since we've last recorded, we've got the Game Week 34 news, or double Game Week news confirmed, and it looks like 7 teams have now got a double in 34. 6 at the moment look like provisionally they're going to be in 37. It could be 8 if Chelsea and Spurs get one of their games moved there too. But let's start talking about City and Arsenal, shall we? Because then we can talk about players from those teams, because they're going to enforce a lot of wildcards coming off the blank, really. So
yeah, so I mean, spoilers for later. Like I'm not sure if we should be looking at City players for like wildcard. Like their fixtures are so good. Like, but it feels like if you pick them on wildcard now, you're probably going to have less points on like week 1 of it, because there's maybe not as many points up to grab in this game. It's likewise, I guess, with Arsenal players. Like defenders, do you want to pick them because you might even be benching them this week and that sort of thing? So last 6 head-to-head results, 2 Arsenal wins, which is actually the last 2, the most recent 2, 4 City wins. Arsenal won 1-0 in October, I think it was, and then they drew 1-1 in the Community Shield, and then they won that on penalties, I think it was. So last 6 head-to-head aggregate score of 11-6, so 11 in favour of City. Only 1 clean sheet for any of the teams in the last 6 as well, which was Arsenal 1-0 in October, as I said. Man City's form is draw, win, 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 draw, win, but they're actually undefeated in the Premier League since Game Week 16. And Arsenal's form is 8 wins in a row, so that's pretty good. It really is probably the 2 most formed teams in the league, other than maybe Liverpool facing off. Could make or break either one's season, I guess. Maybe too early for that, but this is going to be interesting game, for sure. Yes. So Arsenal, do we look at them on wildcard? So they've obviously got City this week, then they got Luton at home, which is obviously a really good fixture. Brighton away, Aston Villa at home, Chelsea at home, and then Wolves away in the double 34.
Yeah.
So people who are looking to free hit, possibly you don't need to pick Arsenal players because you can bring them in on a free hit. Obviously the City fixture is tough. The Aston Villa at home is probably quite tough too. Brighton are not really pushed over. I think Brighton beat Arsenal twice last year, possibly, I think it was. So those fixtures look kind of rough, honestly. Mid-table for fixture difficulty, according to the Opta stats, whatever it is. I'd possibly back them to do well in most of them, I think. But at the same time, if you're wanting to hedge your bets, like you probably could not pick them too. So Game Week 24 to 29, the last 6 weeks, XG of 12.03, and they've had 23 goals. So they've massively overperformed the XG.
Crazy.
XGC of 1.8, which is obviously very good with only 2 goals conceded. Huge overperformance for the goal scores, but confidence is obviously high at the moment. Giving up under 2.0 XGC over 6 weeks is obviously insane. shows kind of how much they have been controlling games. But the last two they have conceded to Newcastle and Brentford, both at home as well. So that's maybe showing that possibly what could have come over these next few fixtures.
Yeah.
I don't see that many clean sheets. Obviously, Luton at home is amazing, and you'd expect a clean sheet there. But even Luton aren't that bad at attacking, are they? So So Man City side form-wise, their fixtures are Arsenal at home, Aston Villa, so they're similar as Arsenal. They've got Aston Villa as well. Crystal Palace away, Luton at home, Brighton away, Nottingham Forest away, Wolves at home, Fulham away, West Ham. That pretty much up to the end of the season. I think their double looks like it could be Fulham and West Ham. I think it was. Fulham and Spurs. That was it. So that could happen in 37. It looks pretty odds on anyway. So game week 24 to 29, last 6 weeks for them. XG of 13.68, which is first, with only 9 goals. Compared that to 23 goals from Arsenal, which is huge gap. XGC of 5.9, which is fourth with 3 goals conceded. So only one behind Arsenal there. And they actually Brighton and Palace have better XGC than them at the moment, which is weird when we consider Brighton and Palace seem to have been like shipping goals constantly. That's but their fourth is an improvement of what they've been doing. I think their fixtures, I mean, other than the next two, like Crystal Palace, Luton, Brighton, Forest, Wolves, like those look like good fixtures for clean sheets. And Arsenal at home, it's not out of the world to see them keep clean sheet there, maybe. Stats wise, between them, shots wise, it's 127 versus 98. Shots in the box, 83 versus 72. Shots on target, 39 versus 43. Big chances, 20 versus 16. Headed chance created, 21 versus 19. And then a non-penalty XG, 13.6 versus 10.4. So pretty much all the attacking stats are in City's favour. With them being at home as well, I expect them to probably win this game. But obviously it won't be easy with Arsenal's defence being so good. Probably low scoring. I think I've heard that De Bruyne and who was the other one?
Did you see Haaland have his injury or walking around gingerly in the training video? You see that one? I don't think he's going to be out.
No, I heard he was supposed to be back training normally, but maybe not.
Maybe he is. This was middle of last week, but they've obviously lost Stones in the meantime. But Walker's back supposedly, so.
Walker's back, is he? Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, as of yesterday, I heard that it looked like he was going to be back. So
right, interesting. Yeah, so like I said, possibly low scoring game, last game of the week. So most people will have maybe 2, maybe 3 assets from them. But Arsenal wide player to pick, possibly Havertz, 7.2 million, 3% owned, so a decent differential. He's obviously scored lots of points recently. Highest scoring FPL player over the last 6 weeks of 50. He's had multiple returns in 3 weeks and not blanked in the last 4. So he's had 12, 14, 14, and 7, which is obviously very good. Probably not sustainable, but especially against City. But after that, who knows? Seemingly he's got that sort of false 9 position as his now, ahead of Jesus.
Yeah, got
so he scored for Germany against France as well in the international break. Same sort of false 9 role. So good for him there. Stats not amazing. 12 shots, 5 big chances, XG of 2.6, 9 key passes, 0 big chances created, an XA of 0.5. So he's done well from sort of minimal-ish shots, but 5 big chances is obviously pretty big. Arsenal are creating well in that sort of thing. So next person, I've mentioned him a few times before, Rice. I think you've said you're possibly looking at him on the wild card. So 5.5 million, 5.8% owned. He just keeps delivering 9, 8, 6, 17, 1 and 2 in the last 6 weeks. Obviously returned 4 times in a row. Obviously multiple returns in that one game was 17. Seems like Jorginho's allowed him to be the box midfielder, kind of like Xhaka was in the previous year, bursting into the box and scoring goals. So he's also a target for set pieces from the right-hand side of the back post, which seemed to happen quite a lot in the last game. And he's also on set pieces from the left-hand side. He's taking corners. Don't think he's taking direct free kicks, but he's in on other sort of free kicks around the sort of cornery area. yeah, fourth high scoring FPL player over the last 6 weeks, 43. So yeah, Havertz at 50. He's only 7 behind him, and he's like a DM pretty much. So
Love that.
That seems like a lot of points gone to waste for most people. Like 43 points is
Yeah.
amazing. He's obviously cheap in a good team that seem to be scoring goals, and I expect him to be involved, just like with Douglas Luiz. Sort of DM who was actually on set pieces can be valuable in FPL, and those two players are proving it. So
yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's been a bit of a change in position definitely since they come back in that first game against Crystal Palace, and that's what started their 8 wins in a row, and he's just like been playing further forward and getting returns in that time. So you're right, I kind of feel like his stats aren't amazing, but he's returning and he's interestingly picking up some set pieces, which I think all bodes well, really.
Yeah, and then the third Arsenal player, White. Not many people own him. He is 12% owned, which is higher than the other two, but which I was a little bit surprised about. But 5.7 million, quietly become the highest scoring FPL defender, which is
crazy,
wild. I didn't expect that at all when I was looking at that. So he probably should be in most wildcard teams, you'd expect, but at the same time, I'm not actually looking because he is still expensive, and Gabriel is just there at like 5 mil, or Raya is at 5 mil as well, which is not bad. So, but he was rested during the international break. Obviously, said he didn't want to play for England for some reason. But yeah, he's had 11, 30, and 13 in his last 2, then 2, 6, and 9. So that's not bad. But stats-wise, saying is possibly a fluke. Shots, he's only had 1. In the last 6 weeks. Big chances, he's had 0. XG of 0.04. What is good is his key passes at 5, which is obviously not amazing, but big chances created is 3, which is pretty good for a defender. XA of 0.63. So is that a fluke? Possibly. I can't see him continuing to get loads of assists. So maybe his time will come and go with most people not picking him in FPL, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's a funny one, the Arsenal defence at the minute, because they have been like so consistent and good. But you're right, the next like block of fixtures, apart from maybe that Luton game, none of them really look like clean sheet games. Like Brighton away, not really. Aston Villa at home, not really, because they're going for Champions League. Chelsea is a maybe, because I feel like and Wolves is a maybe, but none really in the next 6 that looks certain. So I kind of think that maybe investing in Arsenal attackers, if any, on that free hit / bench boost in 34 is the way to go, really.
Yeah, it does worry me if I don't go there, is that like they probably will still be pretty high owned, and if they do get clean sheets and you don't own any, then your rank is probably going to tank pretty quick. I mean, there's so many cheap options. You could go super cheap on the wild card that still have doubles and put all your money into offense, which could be a decent way to do it. Especially with these Arsenal fixtures, you'd be backing against them bleeding. Seeding.
Absolutely. No, I feel like there's a lot of different ways to play at the minute, which is really quite good as we get to this part of the season, really. So no, I agree. And trying to pick I kind of think if you were going to have a blank canvas and pick an Arsenal defender, I'd probably pick White, just because of his slightly more open play attack threat, if that makes sense. But when you look at just the value Gabriel and Saliba have offered this season, it's difficult to back.
I mean, what's more likely? Is he going to get an open play cross assist or from a set piece, which they sort of like obviously
they're good at
plan for, is to get Gabriel open or Saliba open. So what's more likely to happen? It's really
probably the set play, you'd have to say. I think more reliable. But
again, you could go without them. I think I probably will go without them. Anyway, so City, on the City side, Haaland, obviously everybody owns him, but people have talked about possibly not having him for the wild card, which I think is probably a bit crazy. Like I said, their fixtures are good, apart from obviously the next 2, which is Arsenal and Aston Villa. But after that is really good and should be lots of goals. So 2, 6, 5, 8, 2, and 13 in his last 6 is obviously not exactly lighting FPL on fire. But that 5 goals in the FA Cup game, really taking the piss. He did limp out of Norway training over the international break, but he did actually start both games for them in the end in their friendlies. So nothing to worry about there. I assume anyway. Yeah, he's the second highest scoring forward now, 154, and Watkins is on 187,
That's
which is the top
crazy.
forward, which is yeah, Watkins obviously having a great season.
He
To
did
be
miss
outscoring
quite a
Haaland
lot of
by
games.
yes, he did. Yeah, true.
But even
but yeah,
still,
outscoring Haaland by quite a lot is impressive. Yeah, he's had 28 shots, which is first, 11 big chances first, XG of 5.36 first. So yeah, his stats are back there. As I mentioned like a few weeks ago, like it was only a matter of time until he started to like get absolute hauls again, and obviously annoying it happened in the FA Cup, but you know, never know what happens over the next few. Aston Villa defense is not that amazing. They could he could get a hat trick in that game. It's like, who knows? So I think I'll definitely be picking him. And it's probably silly to go without.
oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah. And then the defense, I think there'll be a differential. I think not many people are looking at them. Walker is obviously an option if he is back, as you said, but Akanji's apparently picked up a injury. Stones obviously too. So Ake, I think at 5.1 million, 9% owned, is a good option. He's cheap. Probably the cheapest way into the defense. Akanji, I was looking at before, was 4.9 million, but he's obviously injured now. So Ake at 5.1 seems great. Only missed one match since game week 16. Played all other available minutes otherwise. 2 goals, 3 assists across the season, was also pretty good. Has set piece threat like Gabriel and things like. Yeah, next two are tough for clean sheets, as I said, but could be a really good pick. Yeah, I like him. I've been certainly looking at him. I think the City defense is going to go as a differential, to be honest. Not many people are looking at them, and I like the fixtures apart from the next two. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like, yeah, the picking on the defenders at the moment, it just seems like we're just picking from such a bad bunch. Like defense this season is not good.
Yes, true.
If you like look at the overall point score by defenders compared to midfielders, usually there's like a good defender that ranks high, like Trippier last year, maybe Trent the season before that. Highest scoring defender is White on 119.
Yeah.
That would put him like maybe like outside the top 5 or top 8 maybe in midfielders and top like 4 or 5 in attackers, and then it drops off pretty quick after that. So yeah, I think they've been a bit underwhelming this season really, and it's mainly the Arsenal defenders that have got there. So yeah, you either look at coverage and covering the ownerships on those higher players, or try and go against it for these last 7 or 8 games, I suppose.
Yeah, or like I said, you could proper cheap out and
Absolutely.
go just all out attack, which seems like possibly a good idea.
Yeah, no, I'm vaguely coming around to that idea, to be honest. I mean, I think I can probably still do it with one premium defender in Gabriel, but yeah, I think I just prefer to put the money in attack at the minute. So which way do you think this game's going to go then? So obviously quite a big one. Do you have any inkling? I think it'll be low scoring still, but I don't think either team will keep a clean sheet. I think it'll be close.
Probably just like a 1-1 boring game, possibly. If De Bruyne plays, like I was looking at head-to-head stats, and like De Bruyne has a good history against them recently. He scored maybe 4 goals in the last 6 or something against them. So yeah, if De Bruyne starts, I think probably a City win. If he doesn't, then yeah, probably just a score draw, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see if Arsenal change how they're playing. You're right, recently, because Jorginho's been sitting, it's allowed Rice to get forward, but I kind of wonder in a game like this, are they going to maybe revert and go a little bit more cautious, and maybe that means that that sort of pivot won't be the same. So
I hope they don't. They've been so offensive and scoring so many goals and free flowing, and just go for it.
I know. I feel like they could get at City's back line as well. So yeah, I really hope they do. All right, well, let's talk about Liverpool Brighton a little bit, and then perhaps we can just